This time we're going to do something a little bit more advanced. We're going to use 3 DataPool plugins and 2 different examples in one example. So what we're going to do is set up a thing here to track parameters. So first thing that I want to do is I'm going to drag some type of geometry down here. Again, just throwing a material on it a little bit quicker so we can see it. I'm going to rotate it towards us, scale it up. Makes it a little bit easier for us to see. I'm also going to add a font to our scene here. So I'm just going to slide this font over, and just for the moment I'm going to type in a number here just so I can get the placement of the font. So I'm just going to slide this to the left here. Now the first example is that I want to do is, so I want to be able to type a number into here and have it affect this cogwheel. And the one variable that we want to affect on the cogwheel here is the amount of corners. So as I come in here and adjust the corners, you can see how this affects the cogwheel. The one thing that we will need to know is how to access this corners parameter. And the easiest way to do that is if you click on the corners here with your left mouse and just click and drag, you see this little area here where it says corners. So this is the name that we're going to need to fill in within our parameters. Before we begin, we need to go into the scene settings again and into our scene plugins and drag the DataPool plugin in there. Now that we have that, we're going to go back into the container plugins into the data folder, and we're going to drag the data text onto our text field. First thing we need to do is actually give it a name, so we can come in here and give it a name. Since we're going to be working with a particular parameter, I'm just going to use the field name param, short for parameter. Okay, now on the cogwheel, what we want to do is actually use this thing called a data parameter. So I'm going to go ahead and drag this data parameter onto the cogwheel. I'm also going to drag this thing called the parameter tracker onto the cogwheel as well, since we want to track this particular parameter. Now what I like to do is go right into my parameter and parameter tracker, and I'm just going to give it the field name really quick. And since I want it to populate the same name as this text, which we have named param, I can just go ahead and copy that with a Control C and then come in here and Control V in our field name for the parameter or data parameter, and also for the parameter tracker I'm just going to paste that same name in here. Now the one thing that we do need in these 2 plugins is the actual parameter name. So first I'm going to click on the data parameter, and like I said, we want to first determine what we want to change, and the parameter type here is a geometry because we're using a cogwheel, which is geometry. So again, I'm going to click on the cogwheel, and this particular parameter that we want to adjust is corners. So if I click and drag, it gives us this little name here, corners. I'm going to come back into the parameter here, and where it says parameter name, we're going to type in corners. We're going to go into the parameter tracker, and under this parameter name, we're going to type in the same thing, corners. So you can see immediately that it changed. For time's sake, I'm not going to do the whole VizSend thing. I'm just going to go into our scene settings here, and what I'm just going to do is type our name, param, and this is going to equal, let's say, 10 corners. So you can see here the text change along with the amount of corners, and if you want to increase that amount, we can type in 50. Now we have 50 corners there, and the text reflects that as well. So let's say if we wanted to do this a separate way or a different way, kind of in reverse, what I'm going to do is just drag them to the trash, and we'll set this up from scratch again. So we already have our DataPool scene plugin there. I'm going to erase whatever was in there. Again, let's go back into our geom, and just for repetition's sake, we'll do the exact same thing. We'll use the cogwheel again. So let's turn it towards us a little bit so we can see. We'll scale it up. Though we could use any parameter here, again, we're just going to use the corners again, just to keep the confusion level down. But we are also going to use another font in this case, so we'll drag a font down again, and we'll do the same thing in that we'll just type in a quick number here and place it somewhere else. This time, what we want to do is come into our cogwheel and actually animate our corners. So I'm going to start with the amount of corners of 3, and let's go up to the maximum amount of 100. And I'm going to set another keyframe. Here you can see we have an animation. Now we want to track this parameter and have it reflected in that text. So again, since I'm using DataPool, I'm going to go into the scene settings. We already have the DataPool plugin in there in the scene settings. So we're going to go into the container plugins. We'll drag the text or data text plugin down onto the text container. We'll go right up into the field name and we'll give it a name again. Let's use param again, short for parameter. This time, same thing. We're going to drag the data parameter down here and we're going to go into the data parameter. We're going to give it the same name, param. Just like last time, we're going to use the same parameter type, geometry, and the parameter name that we're using again this time is corners. So we're going to go ahead and fill that out with corners. We're also going to use the parameter tracker. We're going to drag this down onto the cogwheel as well, fill out the exact same naming conventions. So we're going to say param and corners. So this time, when we hit play, we're just going to hit play. You can see how the animation changes the amount of corners, but it also updates the text on the fly as well. So same plugin used two different ways. So same set of plugins, just used two different ways to really achieve the same result.